We are a autonomous organization under administrative control of Ministry of Commerce and Industry.
It is an honor for us, for you to be a part of this FDP.
Yeah.
It's an honor for us to have.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. It is glad to meet you. Can we start?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So, dear participants, our last
Yeah.
eminent speaker for the day is respected Dr. Manoj Kumar Gupta, sir, Director, Central Paper and Pulp Research Institute, Saharanpur. I welcome you, sir, to the AICTE FDP Faculty Development Program. Dr. Gupta has more than 34 years of research experience in the area of environmental management in pulp and paper industry. He worked as Scientist F and Head of the Environmental Management Division at CPPI, Saharanpur Division, before taking over the charge of the Director in charge of the Institute. His area of interest in research and development includes bioenergy recovery from pulp and paper mill wastes, evaluation of troubleshooting of effluent treatment plants, environmental auditing, and REAI studies. He has been actively associated in commissioning of full-scale biomethanation plant for recovery of bioenergy from black liquor at Satya Paper Mills Limited, Muktsar, Punjab, and pilot scale demonstration of biomethanation technology at Tamil Nadu Newsprint and Papers Limited, that is TNPL, for bioenergy recovery from bagasse washing effluent. He has been actively associated with various projects completed on behalf of Central Pollution Control Board, MNREC, earlier known as MNES, MOEF, FICCI, UNIDO. He has published over 40 articles in national and international journals of repute. I request sir to kindly take on the session from here onward.
Okay. Now, please, I want to share my presentation.
Yes, sir.
So
You
please
can.
allow.
Yes, sir. Sir, allowed from this side.
Okay. So the topic on presentation is application of biotechnology in addressing the environmental concerns of pulp and paper industry in India. First of all, I want to tell you what is the paper industry. Paper is a matter which shows the development of a country. Socio-economic development of a country is indicated by the consumption of the paper in a country. When I started my career before 35 years, that time the paper consumption in India was just only 2 kg per capita. Now it has increased from 2 kg to 16 kg in the period of 35 years. At present, our paper consumption is around 16 kg per capita, and world average is around 56 kg. So in comparison of the world, we are very much behind from the world. Next level. At present, India, we are having 861 paper mills, and among them, 516 paper mills are in operation. And we are using 3 types of raw material in paper industry. First is the wood-based raw material. Second is the agro-based raw material, and RCF-based, the cycle fiber-based raw material is also used in the paper industry, where we use the waste paper again for production of the paper. At present, we are having 20 wood-based paper mills, 25 agro-based paper mills, and recycled fiber waste paper-based units are 471. At present, the total installed capacity of Indian pulp and paper mill is 27.15 million ton, and our production in 1920 it was 19.36 million ton. At present, operation installed capacity is 22.35 million ton, and idle capacity is 4.8 million ton. And our per capita consumption, as I indicated earlier, 15.75 kg per capita. At present, production share raw material wise is shown here. Wood-based production is 4.2 million tons. Agro-based raw material based production is 1.66 million ton, and RCF-based production is 13.5 million ton. And among the, if we compare in the terms of percentage, so at present 21% production is coming from the wood-based raw material, 8% production is coming from the agro-based raw material, and 71% production is coming from the recycled fiber-based units, which are producing the paper from the waste paper only. Production share different grades of paper is shown here. Packaging grade, which is used for the packaging of the various items, materials, etc. Around 10.65 million ton is the packaging paper production. Writing and printing paper production is 6.78 million ton. Newsprint production is 1.16 million ton, and others, specialty and tissue paper, it is just only 0.177 million ton. If we say around 55% share is coming from the packaging grades, 35% is the writing and printing, newsprint is 6%, and others is just only 4%. Import and export scenario is shown here. Last three years, 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20. The data of 20 and 21 is under compilation. At present, the export is in last 3 years, 1.33 million ton in 2017-18. In 18-19 has been increased to 1.9 million ton. In 19-20, export increased from 1.9 to 1.91 million ton, around almost same. The import was 3.57 in the year 2017-18, and it is to 3.23 in year 18-19, and in 19-20 it is 3.25 million ton. So there is not much variation in our import and export. The production shift of the industry over last 2 decades is shown here. In 2000-2001, our industry was based on 3 raw materials, and the share was wood-based 30%, agro-residue-based production was 30%, and RCF-based production was 40%. After 10 years, in the year 2010-11, it has been shifted like this. Wood-based has been shifted from 30 to 25, agro-based shifted from 30 to 10%, and RCF has increased from 40 to 65%. And the present scenario in 2019-20, we have reduced in 20 years from 30 to 22% for the wood-based raw material, 30 to 8% for the agro-based raw materials, and the share of the RCF base has increased from 40% to 70% in last 20 years. And major drivers of the shifting were the environmental concerns and the raw material constraints, because the wood-based and agro-based raw material was not so easily available to the industry. So the industry has been shifted from the agro-based and wood-based to the waste paper-based industry. Water consumption in various process operations is shown here. The paper industry is known as the water-intensive industry. Water is very much required for the production of the pulp and paper, and most of the water is not going with the paper. It is just only as a medium of transport from shifting the material from here to there. Pulp in the form of for dilution purposes water is used, and it is just only adding and removal of the water. In wood and agro-based mill, the water consumption is 50-60 meter cube per ton of paper. In RCF-based writing and printing paper mill, it is 10 to 15 meter cube per ton of the paper. And RCF-based craft mills, which are producing the packaging paper, the water consumption is 5 to 10 meter cube per ton of the paper. If we compare the section-wise, it is shown here for wood and agro-based. For the raw material preparation, the water consumption is just only 0 to 3 meter cube per ton. Pulp mill, it is used 20 to 23%. In stock preparation and paper machine, it is used 20 to 22%. In chemical recovery and utilities and miscellaneous, it is 10 to 12%. So total it is 50 to 60 meter cube. In RCF-based writing printing, there is no water required for the raw material preparation. In pulp mill section, it is required just only 2 to 4 meter cube. In stock preparation, it is required 5 to 6 meter cube. And in the utilities and miscellaneous area, it is required 3 to 5 meter cube. So in all, it is 10 to 15 meter cube per ton of the paper. For the craft mills, no water is required for the pulp mill and the raw material preparation. Only the water is required for the stock preparation and paper machine area, and that is 2 to 4 meter cube per ton. In utilities and the miscellaneous, it is 3 to 5. So overall, the water consumption is 5 to 10 meter cube per ton of the paper in the mills which are producing the craft paper from the waste paper. Next. The priority agenda of Indian paper industry for sustainability are shown here. Improve raw material sustainability, improve energy efficiency, because the paper industry also known as the capital intensive industry, energy intensity and water intensive industry. Adoption of bare minimum technology, best available technology to reduce the fresh water consumption, to reduce pollution load to effluent treatment system, to reduce wastewater generation, quantity of the wastewater, improve process efficiency and product quality. And another issue is the skilled manpower, because the manpower is becoming a big issue for the paper industry, because the technical trained manpower is not available to paper industry, because paper industry is not a very rich industry. The profitability is very poor for the paper industry, so the highly qualified manpower is not available to the pulp and paper due to their poor packages. Next. Practical application in pulp and paper industry in terms of the biopulping, because the pulping is the major area where the pulp is prepared and a lot of pollution load is generated here. What is the biopulping? Biopulping is the concept of deliberately harnessing the white rhodite fungi for the pulping. Biopulping is defined as the treatment of wood chips with lignin degrading fungi prior to pulping. So the demand of chemical for the requiring for the chemical pulping is reduced in comparison to the without treatment. Next. Fungal treatment prior to mechanical pulping. Mechanical pulping is energy intensive and produce paper with less strength compared with the chemical pulping processes. Fungal alters the lignin in the wood cell wall, which has the effect of softening the chips. Fungal pre-treatment prior to mechanical pulping reduce up to 30% electrical energy requirement, and it leads to improvement in the paper strength properties. Further, it reduces the amount of the pollution load in terms of COD, BOD during different stage of the bleaching, because the bleach demand is reduced in case of the if we are applying the biopulping. The fungal treatment is a natural process, therefore no adverse environmental consequences are foreseen in case of the biopulping. Yeah. Process of biodegradation, it takes place like this. Fresh fruit chips destined and stored in for production are rapidly colonized by a variety of microorganisms, including many species of the fungi. These organisms compete vigorously while easily assimilable food stuff lasts, and then the population decrease. They are replaced by fungi that are able to degrade and gain nourishment from the cell wall structure polymers, cellulose, hemicellulose, and lignin. Left unchecked, these lost colonize, mostly water-type fungi, eventually decompose the wood to carbon dioxide and water. In this way, the amount of the chemical required is reduced. Hello. Yes, sir. ठीक है, दुआ से भिजवा देते हैं. ठीक, जिनके लिए वो तो दुआ से भेज देंगे, दुआ से रस्तोगी को समझ को तो आसे रस्तों की दुआ से लिंक भेज दें. The flow chart of pulping process is shown here. Selection of lignocellulosic raw material, size reduction to the raw material by the chipping, screening of biopulping process, decolonization using steam, inoculation biopulping fungus. It is 1 to 4 week incubation is required. Digested material can be used for the chemical and mechanical pulping process, and so that the amount of the chemical energy load minimized. Next. The industrial application of biopulping is shown. Biopulping can be carried out in bioreactor or open chip piles depending on the requirement of the fungus. The fungus colonizes the chip surface and the interior, making the chips partially delignified and more readily defiberized during subsequent refining, providing flexible and intact fiber. The factor for optimal delignification results are temperature, humidified air, and nutrient addition. Next. The biopulping process, chips are decontaminated by steaming, maintaining a high temperature for a sufficient time to decontaminate the wood chip surface and allow the fungus to grow effectively. Chips are then cooled sufficiently so that the fungus can be applied. The next step is the inoculum of the wood chips with a suspension containing the fungus, nutrient, and additional water. Next. The chips are then placed in piles that can be ventilated to maintain the proper temperature, humidity, and moisture content for fungal growth and subsequent biopulping. The retention time in the pile is around 1 to 4 weeks. Biotechnology application, enzyme pre-bleaching of the pulp. Enzymes can be used for the bleaching of the pulp. Up to a certain extent, they can reduce the demand of the bleaching chemicals. Next. The pulp and paper mill industrial flint contain toxic and harmful organic compounds such as byproduct of the pulping and bleaching processes. Due to use of stronger oxidant like chlorine, chlorine, and phenol are discharged into wastewater. To substitute chlorine and to implement environmentally sound bleaching sequences, ECF, elemental chlorine-free, and totally chlorine-free bleaching sequences are used. Drawback of using these environmental sound technologies are difficult to attain to high degree of brightness and higher chemical cost. Next. The bio-bleaching involves treatment of pulp by microorganisms such as fungi or their enzymes. Basic aim is to dignify and to modify the pulp residual lignin to facilitate subsequent bleaching with chemicals, so the chemical demand can be reduced. Enzymes have been widely employed in bleaching processes due to their high specificity, cost effectiveness, and decrease in the use of the bleaching chemicals. The types of enzyme for bleaching of pre-bleaching of pulp are shown here. Hydrolytic enzyme for lignin removal, like gyalinase, that increase the lignin extractability from the pulp by depolymerizing the hemicellulosic material closely associated with the lignin in the cell wall, including hydrolysis of precipitate the gyalan component of the fiber. The oxidative enzyme for lignin removal, like lacase, LIP, and MNP, are recognized for their ability to oxidize the lignin. Enzyme investigation for bleaching of the pulp are shown here in the following table. Gyalinase is used for the degradation of gyalan. Lacase plus redox metator is used for the oxidation and polymerization of lignin. Manganese peroxidase is used oxidation and polymerization of lignin. Lignin peroxidase is used for the depolymerization and repolymerization of the lignin, and celluloid dehydrogenase is used for the reducing of the quinone, phenoxy, and cation radicals available in the pulp material. Okay. Next. The use of gelatinous. Originally, gelatinous were applied in order to reduce the consumption of chlorine chemical, especially elemental chlorine, because the elemental chlorine is quite harmful for the public and the water flora and fauna of our water bodies. Therefore, we want to reduce the use of the chlorine at least as much possible to reduce the use of the chemical. Later, enzymes were combined with various ECP and TCF bleaching sequences to improve the lower final brightness value of the pulp. Gelineous enzyme aided bleaching is the most widely used example of biotechnology application in mill operation. Next. The mechanism of biobleaching of gelineation is shown here. The xylene or pulp surface slow covers the residual lignin that remains less accessible to the bleaching agent. Enzyme action involves removal of the xylene absorbed on fiber and to rupture of the lignin carbohydrate complex in the pulp. LCC complex, it is very necessary to rupture the lignin carbohydrate complex to remove the lignin from our pulp. Next. The degradation of carbohydrate fraction chemically linked to lignin allows leaching and reduce the oxidant amount of the residual lignin molecule in the pulp. More specifically, gelineous treatment increases the alkaline stability of the lignin, which decreases the amount of conventional bleaching chemical required for bleaching of the pulp. The process of enzyme application is shown here. Gelineous is added to the brown stock, typically just prior to the high density brown stock storage tower. In paper industry, unbleached pulp is known as the brown stock. The enzyme is a solution of active protein in water and added to the brown stock washer to rupture the suction head of the stock pump. The key issues in choice of location include the corrosion of the equipment, safety of acid use, and mixing of the enzyme into the pulp. The process of enzyme application is shown here. The enzyme is usually added with acid and dilution water to ensure the control of the pH and adequate dispersion of the enzyme into the pulp respectively. After enzyme addition, the pulp is pumped to the brown stock storage tower where it travels to the tower while gelineous acts on the pulp. When the pulp emerges from the brown storage water, it is ready to be bleached with the conventional bleaching chemical, which are the chlorine, chlorine dioxide, hydrogen peroxide, etc. Biobleaching with oxidative enzyme. Besides hemicellulose, oxy enzymes such as lacase and peroxidase are other promising enzymes under intensive research for bleaching processes. Among refined enzymes, lacase is preferable. Biobleaching with lacase. Lacase, the technical name of the lacase is benzene diol. Oxygen oxidase is part of the broad group of enzymes which is called polyphenol oxidase containing the copper atom in the catalytic center and usually called multi-copper oxidase. Lactase mediated catalysis occurs with reduction of oxygen to the water accompanied by the oxidation typically of a phenolic substrate. Lacases are thus oxidase that oxidize polyphenols, methoxy substituted phenol, aromatic diamines, etc. Lacase have shown to improve the bleaching efficiency by the direct attack of the lignin structure in pulps. Next. Biotechnological application in enzymatic de-inking. In waste paper, when we are producing the waste paper from the waste paper, particularly writing and printing paper, so the de-inking is required in that case. Whatever the ink is present in the paper, waste paper, that needs to be removed. So sometimes prior to de-inking, we apply the enzyme for removal of the de-inking in more efficient manner. Next. The recycled paper fiber has to undergo de-inking process to remove whatever the ink that gets fused to the paper during the printing. The cellulose enzyme are used for this de-inking process. This makes the use of recycled paper as a viable option to reduce the number of trees needed to be cut to make paper. A de-inking process involves sodium hydroxide, dispersant, and surfactant is widely used for the de-inking purpose. The alkali that can make the treated pulp yellow and consequently hydrogen peroxide is used subsequently to bleach the alkali de-ink pulp. In addition, alkaline de-inking diminishes the strength of the pulp fiber and the chemical use contribute to the environmental pollution. So there is need to use the enzymatic de-inking. Right? Fiber modification. Next. Enzymatic modification of fiber aims at decrease energy consumption in the production of thermomechanical pulps and increase beatability of chemical pulp or improvement of fiber properties. In high yield mechanical pulp, in a paper industry, we are using the 2-3 types of pulping. First is the chemical pulping. Second is the mechanical pulping, and another stage is the chemi-mechanical pulping. In chemical pulping, we are getting the yield of around 40% bleach yield. In mechanical pulping, our yield is 80 to 85%. In chemi-mechanical pulping, we are getting the yield of around 60 to 65%. In high yield mechanical pulp, most of the lignin and hemicellulose remain in the pulp. In the chemical pulping, it is getting removed. According to the determination of the medium pore width and the labeling of the untreated wood, it is evident that enzyme modification to the composition of mechanical pulp can be achieved only to the outer surface of the fiber. Next. In this way, verified when journalists were applied to thermomechanical pulp. Even when using rather higher enzyme doses, only about 1% of pulp was getting dissolved. When combined with an inclined treatment, the enzymatic treatment was substantially improved, and the amount of energy required for refining the thermomechanical pulp was decreased by the use of the enzymatic refining. Next. One technology application in effluent treatment system. Yeah. This is the general effluent treatment system adopted by pulp and paper industry. In pulp and paper industry, first stage of the treatment is the primary clarifier. The purpose of the primary clarifier is to remove the suspended impurities. So mostly in the primary clarifier, we are getting the removal of more than 70 to 80% of the suspended impurities. After that, the biological treatment takes place. That is the consisting of, in paper industry, we are using the activated sludge process, which is the consisting of the aeration tank and secondary clarifier. The purpose of biological treatment is the removal of the dissolved impurities in the forms of COD, BOD, organic compounds, etc. After secondary treatment, after in a aeration tank, whatever the content of the aeration is shifted to the secondary clarifier, where the biomass is getting separated at the bottom of the clarifier, and the clear effluent goes to the further tertiary treatment, because now it has been made mandatory, particularly for the mills located in the Ganga river basin, to go for the tertiary treatment. At present, the industry has adopted the carbon filter, dual media filter, chemical treatment, etc. for the polishing of the effluent to meet the effluent norms and to recycle it up to certain extent to the process. Next. The activated sludge process. This process consists of an aeration tank, a secondary clarifier, and a sludge recycling line. The process utilizes a mixed microbial population in the aeration tank to convert the organic matter present in the wastewater in the form of soluble or COD and soluble BOD into the cellular material. And these biosolids are further separated from the liquor in the secondary clarifier. And these biosolids consist of an activated mass of different species of microorganisms, and a portion of the settled sludge in the clarifier is recycled back to the aeration tank to maintain the desired level of the mixed liquor suspended solid. The balance is wasted at the rate of the production of new cellular cell. Normally, in activated sludge process, whatever the load is coming in the terms of the BOD, around 30 to 40% is getting converted to the new cellular biomass. In the same rate, we have to discharge it from the underflow of the secondary clarifier. Next. The secondary biological treatment processes are divided further into two types of processes: aerobic treatment processes and anaerobic treatment processes. Aerobic treatment processes are those processes which takes place in the presence of the oxygen. Anaerobic treatment processes are those processes which takes place in the absence of oxygen. Mostly in anaerobic treatment process, we are having closed type of reactor system. Next. Next level. Design criteria for conventional activated sludge treatment facilities are shown here. The organic loading required for construction of a conventional activated sludge treatment is organic loading is 0.2 to 0.5 kg BOD per kg mixed liquor suspended solid per day, and the volumetric loading rate is 0.4 to 1.8 kg BOD per meter cube per day, and the sludge retention time is 5 to 15 days, and hydraulic retention time is 6 to 8 hours. And the MLSS concentration required in the aeration tank, that is 2000 to 4000 milligram per liter, and the sludge return ratio depends on the maintenance of the MLSS concentration and depending on the process parameter, and it varied from 25 to 100% of the process effluent quantity. And water depth required in the further construction of an activated sludge system is in the aeration tank, it is 3 to 5 meter, and oxygen requirement is 1.2 to 1.5 kg oxygen per kg BOD load, and the sludge production rate is like this: 0.4 to 0.6 kg per kg BOD removed. Next. A healthy anaerobic treatment system. Aerobic treatment contains different type of organisms. Those organisms are bacteria, fungi, protozoa, algae, and other higher forms of the life. The microbial growth in the biological system exists in three phases: lag growth phase, declining growth phase, and endogenous growth phase. Next. The microbial growth versus organic loading is shown in this figure. The figure is showing that whenever the substrate concentration is getting reduced, so our system changes from the log growth to the endogenous phase. Next. Most of the activated sludge plant in pulp and paper industries are operating in the declining growth phase of the microorganism for achieving the high reduction of the biological chemical oxygen demand, that is normally known as BOD. All microorganisms involved in wastewater treatment are classified into three groups: strict or obligate aerobe, which exists when a supply of molecular oxygen is provided in the system. Obligate anaerobes exist in an environment completely free from molecular oxygen, and facultative organisms which have the ability to survive with or without the presence of the molecular oxygen. Next. The product of the aerobic processes are low energy, carbon dioxide, water, nitrite, and sulfate. These are the products of the aerobic process. And the sludge volume index and the conventional activated sludge system, which is shown here. What type of bacterial organism will be present, microorganism will be available in case of the our sludge volume index is getting from low to high. In case of the high sludge volume index, there will be the dispersed flocks, and in case of a good and conventional activated system, the sludge volume index will be around 50 to 100. In that case, the only facultative organism may be available in the system. When the sludge volume index is getting high, in that case the dispersed growth is there, and most of the our activated biomass is getting washed out in the form of dispersed growth. Next. The factors which affect the biological activity of a treatment system are the pH, temperature, the characteristics of wastewater, and the loading conditions. Next. What is the pH? The optimum range of pH is the 6.5 to 8.5 for the good operation of the activated stress system or aerobic treatment system. Extremely low or high pH exerts a toxic effect due to the high concentration of hydrogen ion concentration or hydroxyl ion concentration. In that case, it doesn't require if the pH of wastewater lies beyond the optimum range. So if in case the pH is on lower side, in that case we need to add some alkaline medium. In case of the pH is on alkaline side, then we have to add some acid in the group. The microorganisms that are classified into three groups according to the temperature range in which they function best. The three groups of the organism are cyclophilic, mesophilic, and thermophilic. The cyclophilic bacteria grows at the temperature lower than the temperature of 20 degrees centigrade. Mesophilic bacteria grows in the temperature range between 20 to 40 degrees centigrade, and thermophiles microorganism grows at a temperature of greater than 45 degrees temperature. The microbial activity decreases with the decrease in the temperature. The rate of growth gets double with every increase of 10 degrees C temperature until the limiting temperature that particular group is attained. For mesophilic, it is 30 to more limit is 40, and for the thermophilic, it is more than 60. Next. This is the rate of growth and temperature graph. When the temperature is getting increased, the rate of growth is increasing like this. The wastewater characteristic. The optimum growth of microbial population is dependent on availability of essential nutrient and trace elements like nitrogen, phosphorus, magnesium, iron, potassium, manganese, calcium, sulfur, copper, zinc, etc. Two most critical elements are for the requirement of the aerobic population are nitrogen and phosphorus. To encourage the growth of a desirable microbial population, it is essential to maintain a ratio of BOD raised to N raised to P at the ratio of 100 raised to 5 raised to 1. 100 gram BOD. In case of 100 gram BOD, we have to supply 5 gram nitrogen and 1 gram phosphorus. Next. Loading condition. The amount of substrate available per unit weight of microbial mass in a biological system is called as organic loading. Substrate concentration is measured in terms of BOD5 or BOD3, and microbial mass is measured in terms of the mixed liquor volatile suspended solid. Mixed liquor suspended solid are divided into two categories. First is the mixed liquor volatile suspended solid, which are organic in nature, and the next is the mixed liquor fixed suspended solid, which are inorganic in nature. Next. Factors which affect the performance of activated sludge process are shown here. Sludge volume index, food to microorganism ratio, FM ratio. Next is the MLSS, mixed liquor suspended solid. Next parameter is the dissolved oxygen, sludge age, pH, temperature, and nutrient requirement. What is the sludge volume index? Sludge volume index can be defined in the terms of a formula shown here. ML in sludge volume index, the unit is the unit volume of the activated sludge in milliliter per gram after a half an hour settling of the mixed liquor in 1 liter IMHAF con. The SPI is known as ml settled sludge multiplied by 1000 divided by the concentration of suspended solid. In case if FCI is less than 50, it shows that its settling is very excellent in your system. If it is up to 100, settling is quite well. If it is less than 150, settling is reasonably well. And when it is more than 200, in case the settling is not proper, it is settling is getting burst, and the most of the microbial mass in that case will be got washed out from the secondary clarifier overflow. Next parameter, which is the important for the maintenance of the activator stress system, that is the food to micro ratio. The low FM ratio up to 0.7 gram VOD per gram MLSS per day is applicable to the activator stress process with a high degree of VOD removal. At high FM ratio, the VOD removal is getting reduced, and we can achieve in that case only 50 to 70%. Under such cases, the demand of dissolved oxygen getting high. The FM ratio can be calculated with this formula. BOD load in the system in terms of the kilogram per day, and MLS is contained in adjacent tank in terms of the kilogram of the substrate. Fixed liquor suspended solid are composed of active microbial biomass, non-active microbial mass, and non-biodegradable organic and inorganic mass. Higher level of MSS require higher oxidation capacity in the system and require large size secondary clarifiers. So we have to maintain the MLSS in the proper range. The most economical and attractive range of mixed liquor suspended solid in activator system is between 2000 to 4000 milligram per liter. If we increase the MLSS level, in that case the oxygen requirement will be high. The activator/treatment plants operate at high oxygen level. It is important to maintain the required level of dissolved oxygen concentration in the adjacent tank, and the required level is the 1.5 to 2.5 milligram per liter. The DO level in adjacent tank affect the net sludge production in the system. Next. Sludge age. In activator sludge treatment of wastewater means solid retention time in adjacent tank is more important than the wastewater adjacent time. The sludge age must be maintained at a level which is greater than a maximum generation time of the microorganism. Normally, sludge age for the pulp and paper industry wastewater treatment is 5 to 10 days, and the amount of the SRT solid retention time can be calculated by the total weight of the solid in biological system and amount of the wasted in the system. Next. Operation and maintenance of activator sludge plant. These are the guidelines for operation and maintenance of for proper operation and maintenance of an activator sludge system. For proper operation of activator sludge system, we need to maintain a dissolved oxygen level of 1 milligram liter. And if we maintain the more than 1, it will be more than sufficient. So we should try to maintain the system at a level of more than 1 milligram per liter. So we have to check it at various points in the adjacent tank, and it should be checked at least twice in a day. It is essential to check and adjust the concentration of MLSS to the required level, and so that in a week we have to check at least twice the MLSS concentration in our adjacent tank. The regular wasting of sludge should be carried out to maintain a desired level of MLSS concentration in the adjacent tank. This can be achieved by a continuous or batch wasting of sludge from the sludge return line. Next. The 30-minute sludge settling test should be carried out daily. Any variation in settled sludge volume indicate a change in the quality and quantity of the mixed liquor suspended solid in the adjacent tank. An increase in the settled volume indicate that either the sludge concentration is increasing, or some sludge wasting is required, or the quality of sludge is getting deteriorating. Next, a good settling sludge has index of less than 100 milligram per gram, as I have already indicated in SVI. Next, periodic inspection and replacement of worn mechanical part, regular cleaning, oiling and greasing of adjacent devices, compressor, pump, etc. essential to maintain the stable, reliable, and efficient operation of activated sludge system. Next. Anaerobic treatment processes. That process treatment, wastewater treatment process which takes place in absence of oxygen, those are called anaerobic treatment processes, and they are having some advantages and some disadvantages are associated with the anaerobic treatment processes. The advantages are shown here. The advantages are lower production of biosolids per unit of organics removed, lower requirement of nutrient in terms of nitrogen phosphorus as a consequence of less biosolids produced. In case of anaerobic treatment processes, the sludge generation is very low in comparison to the aerobic treatment process. In anaerobic treatment processes, aerosol is not required. It is significantly reducing overall treatment system power requirement. And as a result of the byproduct, we are getting the biogas in anaerobic treatment system, which is recoverable as a byproduct. And normally we can get around 0.35 to 0.4 meter cube biogas per kg COD removed. Anaerobic treatment system can be left dormant without feed for longer period of time without severe degradation of biomass properties, and it can be brought back into operation at normal treatment efficiency. within very short period of time. Very high active biomass density, up to 3 to 5% or higher, can be achieved under favorable condition of anaerobic reactor. Increased resistance to the organic shock load, less capital investment is required in case of the anaerobic treatment, and the land requirement is also less because the anaerobic treatment system are operated at high organic load, so the space and capital requirement is less in case of the anaerobic treatment system. Next, anaerobic treatment processes are three type of anaerobic treatment processes are used in paper industry. First is the anaerobic lagoon, second is the contact reactor, and USB reactor. In anaerobic lagoon, usually high strength steams are discharged. A long retention time of 15 to 30 days are required. But if the wastewater contains easily degradable substances, in that case, the lower retention time can be effective, and maybe around 7 to 10 days may be effective. So that operating parameters for the anaerobic lagoon are like this. Retention time required is 15 to 30 days. Volumetric loading rate is 0.3 to 0.5 kg COD per meter cube per day, and COD reduction efficiency is 30 to 40%, and reduction which can be achieved in anaerobic lagoon is 50 to 60%. Next, contact reactor. It consists of a continuously stirred tank reactor and a sedimentation stage where suspended solids are removed and recycled back to the anaerobic reactor. Efficiency less separation is a big problem because the sedimentation is often disturbed due to the rising bubble of biogas. The system is sensitive to high inlet concentration of suspended solid and temperature variation. USB reactor. This is the most applicable system in pulp and paper industry. And USB, the full form of the USB, the upflow anaerobic sludge bucket reactor, and it utilizes an upward hydraulic flow through a bed of anaerobic biomass. It implies solid liquid separation system at the top of the reactor, which is called the three-phase separator. Solid liquid gas separation takes place at the top of the reactor. The rising wastewater stimulates the microbial growth. Baffles installed at the sedimentation zone deflect the gas to gas collection area and allow the liquid to enter the solid liquid separation system without being disturbed by the gas. The self particles get separated and settle back to the reactor by gravity. Next. This is the diagram of the contact reactor. First is the reactor, and then the sludge is getting settled in the lambda clarifier, and the whatever the solid gets settled in the bottom of the reactor, not the clarifier, gets back recirculated in the system. Next. This is the symmetric diagram of USB reactor, where the wastewater is fed at the bottom of the reactor, and under the at the reactor, the various population of the microbial species are available, and then it is wastewater is getting distributed, and upward rise is there, and after in between the normally the USB reactor height is 6 to 8 meters. When it goes up, the treatment system takes place. Treatment takes place. Effluent gets settled in the collection zone and comes out there. Next, these are the hybrid reactor. Hybrid reactor is the combination of the fixed reactor and the USB reactor, and the schematic diagram is shown here. Next, these are the IC reactor, internal circulating reactor. It is the in IC reactor. It is just only one three-phase separator is kept on another three-phase separator, and the height of the IC reactor may be up to 60 meters, so that we can reduce the size area required can be reduced by the installation of the IC reactor, and the settling in case of IC reactor is much better. Next, extended sludge bed reactor. Next, biotechnological application, bioremediation. The bioremediation can be used for the treatment of the wastewater by application of some suitable type of enzyme. What is the bioremediation? Bioremediation is a process which use organism, microorganism, algae and plant, and or their enzymes to return the polluted environment to its original condition. And phytoremediation it takes by plants, mostly soil and surface water. Next, bioremediation is a triple corner process: environment, organism, and pollutants. Next slide. Next slide. Bioremediation related topics are shown here. Next slide. These are the various stages of bioremediation studies: isolation of the microorganism, purification of the obtained isolates, identification of the microbial isolates, optimization of the biodegradable conditions, determination of the biodegradation efficiency. These are the 5 stages of the bioremediation. Phytoremediation is used of plants for accumulation, removal, or conversion of the pollutant, and its various steps are shown here: phytostabilization, phytovolatilization, phytotransformation, phytostimulation, and phytoextraction. Approximately 400 plant species have been classified as hyperaccumulator of heavy metals such as grasses, sunflower, corn, hemp, flax, alfalfa, tobacco, willow, Indian mustard, poplar, water hyacinth, etc. Contaminant potentially amenable to bioremediation. Readily degradable are the fuel oils, gasoline, ketones and alcohols, monocyanic aromatics, biolitic aromatics, somewhat degrade coal tars, pentachlorophenols, chlorinated solvents, some pesticides and herbicides, dioxin, polychlorinated biphenyl, etc. Bioremediation technique. Bioremediation technique are in two parts, in situ and ex situ. Only ex situ processes allow an efficient optimization of incubation parameter. It includes the pH, aeration, agitation, moistening, nutrient, and solvent or surfactant. The ex situ technique includes bioslurry reactor, biopiles, and land farming. These bioslurry reactors, biopiles, and examples of biopiles are shown here. Bioremediation pulp and paper sector. The pulp and paper is typically associated with pollution problems related to the high COD, BOD, toxicity, AOX, color, suspended solid, lignin and its derivative, and chlorinated organic compounds. Around 240 to 250 chemicals have been identified in pulp and paper mill effluent, which are produced at different stages of the pulp and paper making in pulp and paper industry. Next. Conventional biological processes have not effectively performed for removal of the color and recalcitrant compound from paper and pulp wastewater. So bioremediation is implied for the treatment of various industrial effluent like paper and pulp effluent. It refers to complete removal of organic toxic pollutant into the harmless or naturally occurring compounds like carbon dioxide, water, inorganic compounds, which are safe for human, animal, plant, and aquatic life. Next. Probable objective of bioremediation pulp and paper sector are like this. Collection, procurement of potential bacteria, more than 15 bacteria are isolated, used for bioremediation. Collection of paper effluent for their primary characterization of various parameters of interest such as pH, COD, BOD, suspended solid, etc. Treatment of paper effluent in lab scale with different bacterial consortium, followed by secondary characterization. Designing and implementation of bioremediation model for continuous treatment of paper effluents. Next. Bacterial agents for bioremediation are shown here. The bacterial species are Bacillus spp, Pseudomonas, P. alkidixin, P. mercena, P. pipsida, P. warpani, Cyanobacter, Ecomobacter, and Phenobacterium. And organic pollutants are like this. And heavy metal pollutants which are present are like this: copper, zinc, cadmium, manganese, uranium, copper, nickel, chromium, cadmium, lead, zinc, arsenic, etc. Next. Pseudomonas putados are shown here. Stages of bioculture dosing: soft dose. When use of microbial culture is done first time at any plant, or use is started again after a time gap, at that time soft dose is provided. The amount of usage while soft dosing is double, then the maintenance dose. Maintenance dose: if soft dose is successful completely, then the maintenance dose is carried out. After completion of maintenance dose, a month report should be given to engineer to get the best result of the product. Next. Advantages of bioremediation are shown here. We reduce the BOD and suspended solid of discharge system, and thus reduce the waste treatment cost and surcharges. Eliminates waste and odor from drains. Utilize the powerful waste digestive ability to specially selected beneficial bacterial culture and the natural enzyme produced by these cultures. Break down proteins, carbohydrate, animal and vegetable fats, oils, and cellulose for effective waste digestion and odor reduction. Prevents accumulation of sludge, scum, grease, and other organic solids. Speed of the settling behavior of the system. Next. Lift station, pump, pipes, and structure maintained without manual cleaning. It reduces the energy consumption, that is the labor cost and sludge management expenses. No usage of harsh chemicals. It reduces the sludge volume and minimal operating cost. It implements of environmental friendly processes, safe for all plants and animal ecosystem, and reduce pollution load in downstream water bodies. It is used aiding in prevention of vector-borne disease, reducing breeding grounds for flies and mosquitoes by causing turbulence in open streams. Disadvantages of bioremediation, because any system is not completely free from the disadvantages. Some disadvantages are also associated with the bioremediation. It is limited to those compounds those are biodegradable. Not all compounds are susceptible to the rapid and complete biodegradation. Biological processes are often highly specific, important side factors required for success in a success include the presence of metabolic capacity, microbial population, sustained environment growth condition, and appropriate level of nutrient and contaminant. It is difficult to extrapolate from bench and pilot studies to full-scale field operation. It is next biotechnology application, biorefinery concept. The pulp mill based biorefinery concept is shown here. Pulp and paper mill, the feedstock of the pulp and paper mills are hemicellulose, lignin, volatile organic compounds, organic in wastewater, biomass residual, and black liquor. And these chemical, thermochemical, and biochemical process are able to convert these materials into the biofuel or the energy, commodity chemicals, specialty chemicals, chemical bulking building blocks, biopolymer, and other novel products. Now there is the concept of using the biorefinery concept in the pulp and paper industry. It transfers the pulp and paper mill bioproduct into the in addition to the regular business, so that it can have significant technological, economical, and social environmental disadvantages. The biorefinery at pulp and paper mills are shown here. Biomass, it is going to the sugar platform, biochemical, then fuels, chemical and materials, syngas platform, thermochemical, and combined heat and power. CS, it is known as CHP. Next. Biotechnology in pulp and paper industry current status is shown here. Biological deep pithing of raw material, it is available at commercial stage. Biological pith removal from wood chips, it is available at commercial scale. Enzymatic pith removal from the pulp, it is on commercial scale. Gel for pulp bleaching, it is available on commercial scale. Improvement of pulp drainage by enzyme, it is available on commercial scale. Enzymatic deinking also available on commercial scale. Production of dissolving grade pulp using the Gel enzyme, it is also demonstrated on commercial scale. Biofiltration for control of odorous emission, it is also demonstrated on commercial scale. Next. Improving beatability of pulp with enzyme, it is also available on commercial scale. The pulp bleaching with lignin oxidating enzyme, it is demonstrated on pilot scale. Biopulping, mechanical and chemical pulp, it is also demonstrated on pilot scale. Dechlorination and detoxification of bleach effluent is also demonstrated on pilot scale. Tea improvement also demonstrated on pilot scale. Enzymatic debarking is also demonstrated at lab scale only, and we need some demonstration on pilot scale also. Enzymatic rating of flax fibers, it is also demonstrated at only lab scale. Now the conclusion. These are the conclusion of my lecture of this 45 to 50 minutes. The biotechnology offers a green and environmental friendly alternative routes to pulp and paper industry for pulping and bleaching and refining bleaching to reduce resource consumption in terms of water consumption, energy consumption, leading to overall reduction in environmental footprint of the pulp and paper industry. It need for development of indigenous, cost-effective and tailor-made strains for pulping, bleaching, effluent treatment system to have a favorable techno-economics of this treatment system. Next. The R&D institute such as CPPRI and NEERI, etc., technology supplier and industry should join hands to upscale the lab scale biotechnology studies result to the mill scale to demonstrate them into the field scale and the full scale. So it is very necessary the combination of these three, R&D institute, technology supplier, and industry should join hands. So to upscale the findings of the lab scale application of these biotechnology application in pulp and paper industry, so that this can be demonstrated on full scale. That's all. Thank you. If there are some questions, you can ask from me.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your experience, knowledge in the form of this presentation with us and all the participants. Paper and pulp industry waste is one of the major concerned area, as the chemicals used in these industries are very harmful, very toxic, and are of even carcinogenic in nature. Hence, effective degradation management of these effluent streams are a challenge. Solid waste management is another area of concern for these industries. Your lecture will inspire our participants to work towards developing strategies for waste management of these industries. Dear participants, if you have any questions, this session is open for you. Sir, actually, while we were going through this session, there were 2 questions from the participants. I'll ask one by one with these questions. So the question 1 is, as high quality printing paper, we have to go to agro-based paper. why are we shifting from agro-based, wood-based paper to waste paper-based paper mill?
The reason is that there are some environmental constraints with the agro base. Now these constraints are resolved completely, but the cost of the installation of the agro based paper industry is quite high in comparison to the waste paper based industry. For agro based product, 300 ton per day agro based installation, it is required more than 500 crore investment, and for the waste paper based 300 ton installation, it requires just only 100 crore. So the much entrepreneurs are not available to invest such type of big investment. So that we have converted from the agro-based industry to the waste paper-based industry.
Great, sir. So the second question is, how can we handle the primary and secondary sludge obtained from the treatment plant of paper mill industry?
The primary sludge is the fibrous sludge. It is used for the making of the boards, a tray, etc. So there is no issue with the primary sludge, and the secondary sludge, and now it can be used as a fuel because the systems are available for the completely drying of this secondary sludge. Now we can get the consistency up to 30 to 35% consistency by installation of this decanter centrifuge. After that, after sun drying, we can use it as a fuel in our boilers because it contains a high calorific value. Sometimes it is having the calorific value up to 2000 to 2500 kilocalorie per kilogram. So it can be used as fuels.
Good. So one more question. As paper and pulp wastewater has limited nitrogen content, so for its treatment, what kind of nitrogen nutrients are added for its treatment?
Yeah, we are adding the nitrogen in the forms of the urea. Sometimes we are using the ammonium phosphate, which provides the nitrogen phosphorus both in the system because the pulp and paper effluent is deficient of the nitrogen phosphorus. So there is need to adding these nitrogen phosphorus in the term of the nutrients.
Okay, sir. So why the pulp and paper industry go in losses? Low package, why there is a issue of low package issue?
Because the paper industry, the investment cost is very high. Installation and operation cost is very high. The profitability is poor. Normally, if I explain the same thing, the waste paper based packaging industry, the raw material is available at a cost of 20 rupees per kg, and the processing cost is 10 rupees per kg, and the packaging paper is available in the market around at the cost of around 31, 32 rupees. The margin is just only 25 paisa to 50 paisa per kg. The margin is very low, so that the industry is not earning good amount of the money, so they are not able to give the big packages to the person.
So can we take few more questions if time allows?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, sir. So for the bioremediation approach of this industry, what type of microbes are preferred?
It is lignin-based microbes are required. Which microbes which can degrade the lignin is the big culprit of the pulp and paper industry. So we need the microorganism which can degrade the lignin, gelignase and the lacase.
So, okay, sir. So one more question from our participant side. So is it feasible to zero liquid discharge effluent from the paper and pulp industry?
It is not possible to achieve the zero liquid discharge for the writing and printing paper mills. It is just only possible to achieve the zero liquid discharge in the RCF based waste paper based packaging paper mills because there the quality issues are not so high. So we can achieve the zero liquid discharge just only in the RCF based waste paper based mills which are producing the packaging paper. But in case of the writing and printing paper, it is not possible to achieve the zero liquid discharge in case of the waste paper based industry also. In wood and agro based, it is typically not possible at any cost. But in waste paper based, just what is possible only for the packaging grade papers, not for the other papers.
Okay, sir. So if we are using microorganisms for the treatment or for the process of bioremediation with these industries, we know that many of the microbes forms biofilms also. So are there any effects of formation of biofilms in the process of bioremediation?
No, such type of activities are not observed.
Okay. So one more question, why we don't use recyclable methods to decrease package loss?
Please repeat the question.
So why we don't use recyclable methods to decrease packet loss issue?
We are recycling the paper in a great extent.
Great, sir. Dear participants, I hope I have answered all the questions.
And you can share my email ID to the participants so that if they can have more questions, they can send right directly to me. My
Sure.
email ID is mkg_cvpri@rediffmail.com. You just show it to the participants so that they can interact me in much better way.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. I will share your email address with the participants so that they can directly ask questions to you on the mail, and you will be able to answer them individually. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for
Okay.
sparing time. Namaskar, sir. Dear participants, here we conclude our D2 with this presentation. The feedback link for this presentation will be shared with you all shortly. We will join again back tomorrow for day 3 proceedings from 10 a.m. onwards. Thank you all for the patience listening. Thank you.